Islam. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural divine heirs. Today is June the 22nd, 2021, on the Greco-Roman calendar, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, and 1441 on the ancient sun calendar. We do have our national fast coming up starting tomorrow, and actually it's tonight at midnight. For those of us who are going to be doing the complete fast, water only, it starts at midnight tonight, and it will end at midnight on Sunday night. So,
Grand Failure, welcome to the Pauline Shit Show. Hey, Negroes,
for those who are going to be doing sun up to sundown. For those who are going to be doing sun up to sundown fasting, your fast will start tomorrow morning at sun up. So we're excited about our fasting because we know that when we fast, we make it so that the electrical downloads that we get from the ancestors come through a lot clearer when we abstain from the foods that have been putting chemicals in our bodies that cause us not to be able to hear as clearly. Now, let's be clear that there's nothing wrong with food, okay? But if you want to get more information more clearly from the ancestral energy, we know that we're electrical beings, and basic science tells us that when electricity is able to move through our bodies more smoothly and more quickly with the least amount of resistance, that it will do so.
Name your ancestor.
Our thinking processes are carried on by electricity. So we know that neurotransmitters transmit electrical energy back and forth over the synapse in our brain. And so if we want that to be more fluid, okay, then fasting helps with that. Because we know that in the food there are things that are not natural. And anything
Why
that's
can't you use that energy to take over first?
And anything that's not natural in our energy, anything that's not natural, will have a tendency to slow down the movement of electricity through our thought processes and our energies, etc. Okay. So, just one moment, let me make sure that I'm sharing my screen. So, we want to do water only for the 3 days for those who can, and for those who can't, do what you can. If you're going to fast from meat, just fast from meat. If you're going to fast from sugar, fast from sugar. If you're going to fast from negative thoughts, fast from negative thoughts. If you're going to fast from fiat, from the use of fiat, then fast from the use of fiat. We're going to do this in alignment with the full moon energy, so that as we welcome
if you paid attention to your moves, that's not what they asked for.
On the 24th of this month, which is in 2 days, we will be experiencing the sovereign energies of the full moon, and we want to use that to our advantage where our demonstrations are concerned and all of that. So that is why the 23rd, 24th, and 25th was chosen, and we kind of chose that the other day on our other call. So we're going to go ahead and fast for the full moon, and that is in anticipation of any demonstrations that we have coming up. We're going to focus our energy on successful demonstrations, further honoring on our land of our sovereign status, and the success of our brothers and sisters and the demonstrations they're doing, because we do know that there are Moors who are doing demonstrations right now where they're in POW camps and they're having to demonstrate their sovereign status. So we want to send much peace and much love their way. That includes Rise of the Moors. We're sending peace and love and energy and strength and all that we can your way so that they have successful demonstrations in that POW
where
situation.
They should be.
And we want to also, and that goes for all Moors who are in the POW camp and the Moors who are out, who are being tested that way as well. So that's what the fasting is going to be for. We are fasting. We want to include Rise of the Moors in sending our energies while we fast, as well as anyone else that's out there. Any Moors who are ill, or if you have relatives who are ill or relatives who are being tested in some way, then we're going to be sending our energies that way as well. Okay, so we want to keep that in mind for all Moors. All Moors. That includes everybody. We're going to be fasting for our nation as a whole. Okay. Some of us have people in our clans who are just now waking up and they're being tested, and there are some who may be being tested health-wise and otherwise. We're going to go ahead and send it out for everybody. Okay, for all Moors, and that's what the fasting is going to be for. Okay, it's for the growth and the expansion of our nation as well, because, this is not going to stop. Having said that, we know and we're keeping in mind that this is not an overnight thing. We're governing it's a permanent thing. It's permanent. We're not going anywhere. It's permanent. This is not going to be something that happens today and then 3 days from now or a year from now or 5 years from now or 20 years from now, we stop governing. No, this is going to continue into perpetuity. So let's keep that in mind with regard to our demonstrations and, pace ourselves on the demonstrations. Make sure that you get plenty of, water and rest and, meditation in, so that we can all pace ourselves and not try to do everything all at once. Everything that we're doing, and we can see this, it was just a matter of time, okay? It was only a matter of time before we got to this place that we're at right now. And it's only a matter of time before the claiming of the domiciles and the conveyances and the property and all of that. It's only a matter of time. It's not if, it's when. Period. So let's keep that in mind as we continue to do our demonstrations and do the things that we're doing in terms of nation building. Now, we want to continue what we started yesterday with regard to piercing the corporate veil and knowing why the hybrids, the foreigners, have been doing the things that they've been doing. And because we really want to focus on our part in that, because we do play a significant part in everything that's going on. In fact, we play the major part in what's going on our land. So in order to fix what's been going on the land, we have to thoroughly overstand it and then move it out of the way. So we've been talking a lot about the corporate covering that was placed over us via the Buck Act and many other acts by the hybrids, where they use black ink and capital letters to escheat and to use semantic deceit and all of that in order to have us think that they took the vast estate somewhere, which they have not. It's still here. Hasn't gone anywhere. And in fact, The estate can't leave and go anywhere because we haven't left and gone anywhere. We're still here. The estate is us. So when we talk about black ink in capital letters, we've been harping on that part right there because it's so important, because if you do not understand that, then you'll keep making the same mistakes of thinking that they're talking to you. You know, and I talk to Moors every day, who, when I speak to them, they're wanting to do all of these great grand demonstrations, but they still think that when the hybrid sends mail to their court, that the mail is for the Moor, and it's not. So I have to keep stating in my discussions with them that the remedy that you're looking for is going to start and end with that, with knowing that you're not any court or nom de guerre war name or wardship name in black ink and capital letters. Those are corporate coverings that have been put on the, you know, that we have been accepting as our identity. So we have to put the responsibility where it is. The responsibility to not be taken captive, and that's not to say you won't be taken captive, because that might be your test. If that's what you're afraid of, it might be your test, maybe. Who knows? But we have to know, even when we're tested, that that's not us. So whenever I hear more saying, yeah, they sent me a warrant, and they sent me a bill, and they sent me this, and I'm like, and I always stop them and say, hold up, who did they send that to? And then they'll catch themselves and say, that's right, they sent it to their court. We have to get that in our minds, because we're going to go in further today on what we're really saying when we say we've terminated all corporate contracts. What are we really saying? And how does that relate to policy enforcers, fake courts, and fake bills of attainder, and debts and debtors court? Because, see, the debt piece is going to be really important, because the debtors, the ones who are over all the debt, which is the European Union, quote unquote, corporation, and they know that they're over it. We proved that yesterday. We'll show you again today. They have been told to remove all debt off of our land. And that's why you see the fiat going away, because fiat is debt. So we Moors, when we started leaning all of these corporations and saying, nope, you can't treat us like that on our land and stay here. Nope, you can't do it. When we started leaning the corporations, and a corporation can be, even when they say, when they propose that it's a name, for example, Pauline Denise Ritchie in black ink and capital letters, that is a whole shell corporation that they created, that I was saying that's not me, but I had to prove it. We have to keep proving that shell corporations are not the Moors. Why do we have to do that? Because shell corporations are debt conveyance methods. They are utilities to move debt all around on the land. So let's show you why, how that is, even according to the hybrids, how it is. And they've always known that if we tried to be something in black ink and capital letters, that they were going to be able to start taking Moors off the street and throwing debt on them and all that stuff if we accepted that fake fraudulent identity. Okay, because I see Moors trying to start bank accounts and all of that stuff, and they're thinking that if they say this is a Moorish trust account, that when the bank puts it in black ink and capital letters, that they're still being themselves when they're not. Okay, and so that the Moors can come in. But even if you say this is a Moorish American trust, if you take it to a court, they're going to put it in court status and start getting ready to move some debt back and forth. That's why we can't do it that way. We have to raise them from the dead and then speak and give commands, and those commands must be competent. Okay, so let's take a look here at I want to share with you first. Here, let me move this out of the way. A couple of things about piercing the corporate veil that we are going to want to be aware of, okay? Okay, and if you come up on the sound meter, don't take it personally. I do have to make sure that all the ones can hear in the meeting. So here, let us
Start emptying out them Cadillac
go
dealerships with all that DeLorean. Empty out them Mercedes.
They know we can do it. They know we can do it. They know we can. Okay, so I want to show you a couple of things about piercing the corporate veil. Just one moment. We'll start where we left off yesterday. Okay. Let me make this a little bit bigger so we can see. Okay. Can you see the screen saying Shell Corporation? Hopefully you can see that. Okay. So now, this is what the fake courts have been doing whenever we go into fake courts. The first thing the fake courts do is establish who is in front of them, and they assign an identity to it that is a shell corporation. So the first thing they do, as soon as anyone goes into fake court, and if you don't turn that fake court, if you don't raise everybody from the dead and then start giving out commands in there and establish proper identity in those fake courts, then they're going to automatically try and put the shell corporation identity over you. So what does it say here? A shell corporation is a company or corporation that exists only on paper. It says it right here in plain English, only on paper. It has no office, that means no authority. It has no office, no authority, and no employee, that means no subjects, no nothing. And then, but may have a bank account, which is how they're going to pass the debt back and forth, or may hold passive investments. Passive investments are not what they told us they were. Passive investments is things that are just sitting there that they can just come and take because of the status of the corporation. It's a shell, and it's created by them in black ink and capital letters. And it says it may hold passive investments or be the registered owner of assets such as intellectual property or ships. They're telling you right here that you can't own anything if you're saying you're the registered owner of the ship. If you're the registered owner of a ship, that's a shell. That means it has no passengers on it and no one to claim it. And so what are they going to do according to Admiralty law and the law of the sea? they're going to claim it and then start doing things with it. Namely, putting debt on it and imprisoning it and all of that. And that is how moors get taken. Make no mistake about it. That is how moors get taken. That's one of the ways that moors get taken. There are other ways, but that is how moors get taken. Is they're trying to get you to be a shell corporation. And then let's look at shell corporations just a little further, because this is going to determine how they even look at you, okay? Sometimes shell companies are used for tax evasion, tax avoidance, and money laundering, or to achieve a specific goal such as anonymity, okay? So what they're saying, and again, this is even hypothecated information, what they're saying is if you're using a shell corporation, you're hiding something and you're a criminal. That's what they're saying. So anything they say after that doesn't even matter. They're putting all shell corporations in criminal status. Okay? We are not lost at sea at all. Okay? So we're not a shell corporation, a vessel without anyone claiming it at all. Okay? Hold on for just one moment. Hold on for just a moment. You know it locks automatically when y'all when you go out there, unless you unlock it. Okay. Okay, so when you talk about shell corporations, that's what they're doing immediately. Even if you say, I am Moorish American national, Abdul Bay or Pauline Denise Ritchie, if you're in a fake court, they cannot see you unless they put you in their fake status. Okay? And that's why we don't go to their courts. And those Moors who are forced into those courts have to turn those courts into Article 3 courts. Just by your presence and you doing a court action, that's going to turn it into Article 3. You must turn it into an Article 3 court. How do you do that? All rise and stand. That means raise them from the dead, because that's what they're doing, Article 3. And our courts go where we go, because we are the law and we are the government. All rise and stand. This is a sovereign living, Article 3, ancient Moorish American Al-Moroccan Council Court action. I am sovereign living justice, and then you state your appellation in capitis diminution nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes, and then you identify the parties as well on their end by asking, what is your name? Ask them questions, okay? So that's taking yourself out of shell corporation, and we're not in shell corporation status, but that makes it so that they can't put that shell covering, that corporate covering over us. Because the minute they put the covering over us, if we don't rebut it and invoke jurisdiction again, guess what they're going to do? Start shoveling some debt your way and try to get you to accept the debt. Now, we talked about debt and the shell corporation by some of the doctrines that they use. Now, they're telling you right here that shell corporations are, a jurisdiction, et cetera, that it has doctrines, so they're telling you what these jurisdictions are. Here it is. Their doctrine, it says it right here, is a de facto and estoppel corporation. It's de facto. Are we de facto? No, we're not. We are de jure. Okay? So they're not hiding who they are. They're not hiding who they are. And then when you just hover over de facto, it will say right here, De facto corporation and corporation by estoppel are both terms that are used by courts in most common law jurisdictions to describe circumstances in which a business has failed. Let me go back. Well, there it is still. In which a business organization that has failed to become a de jure corporation will nonetheless be treated as a corporation, thereby shielding shareholders from liability. So in other words, they're going to unlawfully, because we're de jure, we're not de facto, unlawfully place debt onto the one who's claiming that black name in black ink and capital letters. Okay? They're telling you there what their doctrine is. All of these doctrines on this shell corporation page is who they are. There it is right there. Okay? Now, let's look at another one of their doctrines, because we looked at this yesterday, because we're going to go a little further into it. Piercing the corporate veil. We want to take a look at that. Piercing the corporate veil, or lifting the corporate veil, is a quote-unquote legal decision to treat the rights and duties of a corporation as the rights or liabilities of the shareholders. Usually, a corporation is treated as a separate legal person, and this is important, which is solely responsible for the debts it incurs. That's how you know they're going to be shifting some debt your way. If you're claiming and do not rebut each and every time someone says that you're a court in black ink and capital letters, okay? We must rebut that every single time. And here's the thing. The tricky part has been that Pauline Denise Ritchie or Pauline Denise Ritchie Moore in black ink and capital letters, it sounds like Pauline Denise Ritchie or Pauline Denise Ritchie Moore in capitis diminution nolo. It sounds like it, but if it's not coming out of our mouth or the mouth of a subject, then they're trying, then that's the wrong jurisdiction. So you do not let them speak to you unless you raise them from the dead. And when we're raising them from the dead, all rise and stand, because again, remember, whenever we would go into those fake courts, the first thing they would say is all rise, right? So all they do then is they say all rise, and when the living stand, they already got you there, because all they're sending you up to do is to subrogate your identity and then tell you to sit back down. And when you sit down, they're going to stand as the sovereign, pretending to be the sovereign. Let me put it that way, because they're never sovereign. They're just going to pretend to be that. Okay? But it says it right there on the screen. It's solely responsible. Now, if they say that a corporation is solely responsible for the debt, then where's the creditor? That means that if you're not a corporation, everybody that's not that is a creditor and has no debt. And that's what we mean when we say we have no debt, because we're not their corporation. They don't get to put a veil over our faces and then call us something else. And let me just say this. Those masks that they're using out there, worldwide rather, those masks are a ritual that's telling everyone that they're trying to put a veil over the identity and the mouth of the government and the law, period. That's what that ritual stands for. Whether you wear a mask or not is your business. I don't wear them, because if I have to speak the law, which I have to do that quite often, I just do it. And no mask needs to be in the way. You can't tell sovereigns what to do, so I don't tell sovereigns what to do. I just give the information. And the sovereign does their study, on their own, and they come to their own awarenesses, and then they do what they need to do for them. So again, solely responsible means that's the only one that's the debtor. It's the only one. There are no other debtors than that name in black ink and capital letters. No other debtors. And then let's talk about the in capitis diminutio minima in black ink. You, Moors, we are not any name in black ink. We're none of that in black ink. Even if they use all lowercase letters, that's not us in black ink. If it's black ink, it's not us. If it's black ink, it is not the Moors. And if that is something that sounds kind of foreign, just do some study. Okay? So, just one moment. Let me make sure that we are where we need to be here. Okay, so we're talking now about continuing to pierce the corporate veil, because that's what they've been doing. Piercing the corporate veil, piercing the corporate veil. So now let's look at piercing the corporate veil, because we did talk about this just a little while yesterday, but I'm going to go ahead and bring it up some more, because it's really important that we know exactly what has been happening to us when we participate. And listen, they will try and get you to participate by offering you a benefit that's not there. They keep doing it. Stimulus checks and all of that in black ink and capital letters. And see, this is the part that's missing. Is you can get a stimulus check, but you have to let them know who it is that's receiving the check. It's not any name in black ink and capital letters that's receiving the benefit. So let's make that clear. And then when it comes to fiat, we need to move away from fiat altogether. Because see, them even talking about giving a stimulus check means that they've been robbing you of something, and now you need something to stimulate you, and they don't offer. How can they stimulate anybody when they're bankrupt and broke too? That means that there is some adhesion attached to the check. But again, we can't tell sovereigns what to do. Sovereigns will do what they want to do. No, but know that when we do what we do, when we do it in honor, the ancestors will honor all that we do. And if we don't, we end up in a state of lack, and more lack. And lack is in the mind. It only manifests outwardly because of what's in the mind. Okay? So, piercing the corporate veil, and they're saying it's a legal decision, but in reality, it has a lot to do with the law, because they're telling you here that there's something in it that is not lawful. It's not lawful. Okay? Debt is not lawful for the heirs. And then they're saying here, it is solely responsible for the debt it incurs, and the sole beneficiary of the credit it is owed. Is it owed any credit if it's a debtor? Is it owed any credit if it is a debtor? So what they've been doing is getting us to accept the identity of a name in black ink and capital letters, and then they immediately pierce the corporate veil. Immediately pierce it. They immediately pierce it and put the debt there. Look here. It says, A simple example would be where a businessman has left his job as a director and has signed a contract, because let's just stop there. We already know a contract must be involved in order for anyone to be a corporate corp in black ink and capital letters. That is why we terminated all corporate contracts in black ink and capital letters. Let's put it out there. There must be a contract involved. Period. Without a contract, they can't do it. I am living proof of that. And many of you are living proof of that. So it says here that he had signed a contract to not compete with the company he has just left for a period of time. If he sets up a company which competed with his former company, technically it would be the company and not the person competing. So they're trying to assign life to a company and let the company do whatever it wants to do in terms of business, and not pierce that corporate veil and hold the person accountable for breaking the contract. So this guy said, I'm gonna make a contract with them and you know, vow not to compete with them or whatever. But then I'll just create a corporation over here on the side, and then I'll let that company, because that company supposedly does not have a contract that it signed. Well, companies and corporations can't sign contracts, but unless it's with other corporations. Okay, so technically it would be the company and not the person competing. This is what he's thinking. But they're telling you right here, but it is likely a court would say that the new company was just a sham or a cover. And again, all corpses in black ink and capital letters are shams and covers. They're telling you in each one of these definitions here and each one of these explanations here. And no matter where you go, they're going to tell you that there's some part of it that's not lawful. And that is the part that ruins everything else. That's what corrupts everything else about the black ink and capital letters. And they can say that it's the sole beneficiary of the credit is owed, but is it? Is it a creditor if there's debt involved? Because see, we've been doing the that whole debt thing. We did that our whole lives just about before we woke up and realized who we were. And see, now that we are starting to, you know, now that we know, now all of a sudden, yes, that is their standard modus operandi. That's how they operate. Get them to accept a court status and then pierce that veil immediately, because that's not who they are. And see, the piercing of the veil means they know that there's someone under the veil that's not a debtor. They know that. They know that. So let's go here to piercing the corporate veil, because and I wanted to bring up our liens here. Right here, the name of this site is nolo.com. Need I say more about that? Which this doesn't have anything to do with us in terms of setting up this site. I don't know whose site this is, but the information on it, it says piercing the corporate veil when LLCs and corporations may be at risk. This is where our liens have been so effective. An LLC or corporation's owners, members, or shareholders may be on the hook for personally for business debt. That's how we've been able to get them to get out of the way when it comes to the things that have to do with the heirs. We have been piercing the corporate veil with our liens. That's why we do them. We put if it's going to be John Doe doing business as president or whatever, John Doe doing business as whomever he's doing business as, CEO or whatever, when we put that, this is how we note it. Let me go to this document here so that you all can see, because some have asked this question. More who've been leaning a while know this already, but let's go ahead and I want to show those who have not. Okay. So, for example, John, and this is going to be in black. This is how we note them on our lien. This is how they're noted on the liens, in black. Here, let me make it big enough too. That's a little too big. Okay. That's how we would note it on our liens. John Doe doing business as president, ABC Corporation. So this is how you pierce that corporate veil. Because see, when they started these corporations, they started the corporation so that they could do whatever they were going to do and hide behind it when it came to lawsuits, which is what they do when the citizens want to get at them. And that's how come persons rather, corpses such as the corpse Bill Gates, the one in black ink. Bill Gates doing business as CEO of Microsoft. Let's talk about that corpse. We're not talking about the subject, we're talking about the corpse. When we talk about the corpse, we're talking about the one doing business in black ink and capital letters as CEO or president of that company, that corporation. Well, the people there could not get through the corporate veil when things were done to them on the job. They couldn't. Many tried going through those fake courts to get at some CEO or some president or someone in the company who might have done some violation. More, let's talk about us. Many of us had jobs, where people did not respect our sovereign status. We told them who we were and they acted like they didn't hear. Well, the reason they acted like they didn't hear was because they were piercing the corporate veil that we were using to even be there. They were piercing the corporate veil every time a check came through, some fiat came through, etc. They would pierce the corporate veil, and then we would feel like, oh, we have no rights around here. Well, no, because we were being, we were there under a citizen status. Okay? And so all they ever did was just turn right around and pierce that corporate veil and say, nope, I'm going to use my corporate veil to do away with your corporate veil, to pierce it and hold you accountable and fire you even though you're saying that you're a Moor, but you're here under corporate status. You didn't take the position as a Moor. You took the position as a citizen. Okay? So we have to be ourselves even in that, because see, some of us will go back into the workforce. However, we were going to be getting paid in gold. because it's our money system. We're going to be paid in gold. And we're also going to do it not filling out any job applications. We're going to do it by affidavit. See, the resumes used to be the form of affidavit. When they started moving away from affidavit form, they said, okay, just give us a resume and a letter. Okay, but before, all jobs were obtained by affidavit. All jobs were obtained by affidavit. And all jobs, every job on this land was a government job, quote unquote. And believe it or not, all jobs on this land previously in this era that we just left out of has been United States Corporation Company government jobs, government corporations, because again, they're not the government. They are not the government. We're the government. Every last one of those, I don't care what you did for a living, it was a military position within the United States Corporation Company. Secretary, clerk, whatever. If you use a Social Security number, and again, we didn't know. Okay, ignorance of the law is no excuse for us. Period. It's just not. That's why we have to change. We have to come out and do things the right way. Now, one thing that the ancestors have been, and I have to put this on the record because I did hear them say it, and it's true, and we've been saying it. The system, the structure, let me put it that way, the structure that's on our land is for our use. The structure is for our use, but we cannot use it as blacks. Blacks have no rights. And when I say blacks, you know what I'm talking about. Black ink in capital letters, or black ink and in capitis diminutio minima. We can't use it that way. Ever again. Ever again. So now we're talking about piercing the corporate veil. Our liens, all we had to do, see, this is what we did. We switched back to our proper place and who we really are with the liens when we started putting them in red and all lowercase letters, and that started piercing that corporate veil and piercing it and piercing it, and we kept piercing it and getting to those ones doing business as CEO and president and all of that, and you can see even their biggest quote-unquote fish have stepped down. Yes, Justice Yezreel, liens pull the wizard from behind the curtain. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And court actions pull that curtain right on off. The curtain is the veil. That's part of the veil. Okay? And so now, let's look even further here with regard to piercing the corporate veil and what the de factos have been doing on the land. And again, we can blame it on the de factos, but at the beginning and end of the day, it's the Moors who have to say, I'm not any name in black ink and capital letters. That's our job. We have to say that. We have to put it on the record, and we have to say it repeatedly. Repeatedly. Okay? So when we know better, we have to do better. And not only that, once we say who we really are, okay, when we say who we really are, we cannot go back and forth. Not like that. We can't go back and forth. We have to be ourselves at all times. And if there are any tools that need to be used, we can use the tools, such as an ens ligus, not a nom de guerre, but an ens ligus, which is different from a nom de guerre. And if you don't know the difference, go back to yesterday's video so that you can see that an innvited is something that's created by us, which is the law, which is different from a nom de guerre, which is the black corporate war name, and we are not at war. And nor are we wardships. A wardship is the same thing. A ship at war, except it's in minor status. Same thing, the words are the same. Don't let anybody fool you. The words are the same. So, staying in our proper status as we continue to move forward, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. I know that. Because some are saying, well, we have a banking system. Why are you inventing a new banking system? Well, because the new, whatever we use needs to start with us and our documents. It needs to start with us. We do have a banking system that belongs to the Moors, and it is the earth-wide banking system. It's the earth-wide everything. Everything on this land belongs to us. However, we must be in our proper status, and we must make sure that they're in their proper status. Liens and court actions do that. And Moors, I would just say, whenever you feel led by the ancestral energies within you, please, I'm highly requesting and suggesting that you do a court action on that black name in black ink in all capital letters, and as well as the nom de guerre, as well as the wardship name. Anything in black ink, we're not that, period. We got to be ourselves, because everywhere that they see those black debtors, everywhere that they see them, and everywhere that they see fiat being flying around, they're going to say, okay, you know, for example, I'll just use me as an example. Now, I've said on the public record and proven that I'm not any name in black ink and capital letters. But if I turn around then and say, okay, but I need everybody to send, 300 Federal Reserve debt notes for whatever, if I turn around and say that, they're going to slide me right on back under that dead corpse status and then start violating. Even though I put all those documents out there on the public record. The Federal Reserve debt notes are a contract, even if they're going between Moors. They're a contract. There's a third party in your contract that you had not anticipated, because that's their private commercial paper. And so we've been talking about the dollarium and how to do those demonstrations. Listen, Moors, because I've had Moors call and say, hey, how do I use the dollarium to get this and that and this and that? You're going to have to do the demonstrations. The foundation of all of those demonstrations is this: notify, notify, notify. Make sure there's a lien, okay? A lien and a court action on whoever it is where you're going to be using the dollarium, okay? Lien, and court action. And then I'm gonna be doing this same demonstration. I have not done it yet, but I'm going to do this demonstration where we've done a couple of demonstrations with the dollarium, which we told you about. But I'm going to do the demonstration where I just, anybody asking for whatever they're asking for, I'm going to be handing them dollarium and saying, here you go. With an affidavit, a court action, and a lien. We have to do that with the grocery stores and the office supply places and all of that, the airlines and everything. We need to send them. So here's what we do. We use their system, and it's not their system, it's ours. But we send them what they need in dollarium in order to do what we need to have done. For example, let's just say someone wants, and I'll just use a demonstration that a Moor did recently. I won't say their sovereign appellation, but it was a beautiful demonstration where there was a Moor who left their employment and they wanted to get unemployment. And listen, beautiful demonstration. They actually had to do that by affidavit. They had to lien the unemployment persons and their job, the one that they previously worked at, not for, but at. Lien them, do a court action on them and the unemployment security place. Make sure that they have liened their the quote unquote social, that black social, and the black name in capital letters and black ink. Make sure you've liened them and terminated all corporate contracts. And then you send them something saying, send them an affidavit in red and all lowercase letters, stating who you are, stating who they are, that they're a subject, and you call the CEO by name, whoever that is. Or if you can't find the CEO's name because they've been hiding, some of them have dropped off the radar completely. Okay, they drop off the radar, then you can call and say, with whom am I speaking? Do your court action. With whom am I speaking? That's the question. And if they say Mary, do you have an operator number? Because you start with your question. And if they ask you any questions, then you go into the court action. Then you say, what is your operator number? I need some way to identify you or your boss or your manager or your CEO. I need a name to put on these documents that I'm going to be sending to you all. And then you put their name on there. Once you've done the court action, put it in blue. And it would be the same way that we did on the other document on the lien, except it will be in blue. And you don't give them an office. So it will be John Doe and at Unemployment Security Department in blue. It's not John Doe CEO, because he's not the CEO when you're speaking to the subject. You lien the one doing business as a black CEO. And by black, we mean the letters. And then you put them in blue. And when you put them in blue with the last name first and the first name last, and then put Employment Security Department, just their name, and Employment Security Department in blue, in capitis diminution minima, and send it. And when you send it, you give them the commands. And the more that did that demonstration, it was a beautiful demonstration, beautifully executed. And then she was going to put the amount of dollarium in there. Now, again, our documents must validate the amount of dollarium that we send. For example, if you want unemployment, then you send the amount of dollarium for what you feel you would have gotten in that time span. So, for example, if you made $100,000 a year as your salary, or 100,000 credits per year as your salary, then you would send them $100,000 in dollarium and say this is for 1 year of unemployment, and then have them to put that in sovereign credit back to you. Now, in the chat, Justice J asked why the last name first? Because that means that they are in your service. It's like when you were in the military, you were in the service in the military. Many who were in the military or who worked at the VA or whatever, they know that already, about how everything was done last name first and then first name last. Okay. So that's where when we're putting someone in subject status, we'll put the last name first, comma, and then the first name. So, and that is actually, yes, how they put it on the dog tag. And it's amazing that they would call them dog tags. And we wore them like like we needed a tag. So we're going to have to start using our dollarium at every turn for everything that we need. We have to. The reason why there's no fiat on the land anymore, for the most part, I mean, it's very rare that we see fiat. Many have gone into these places like these Walmart and all of these places that have been leaned, etc. And we've gone in and, you know, I got a text message not too long ago from one of the Moors in this territory who said that they went to Walmart and they had no fiat there, none whatsoever. So we want to make sure that we start using our dollarium that way. Send them the amount that you want credited to your sovereign credit account. Now, when people talk about fiduciary duties and all of that, that is fiduciary duty, where you're using your own script, because we know money is script. It's scripture. It's script. That's what they call it, script. S-C-R-I-P-T. That's your word. So send them the amount that you want them to credit to the sovereign credit account, and say, I've credited this amount to the sovereign credit account, to my sovereign resource account. Then go ahead and do that. Yes. Then it's not a handout. We are putting in. Yes, absolutely. In fact, we're being the source of what we need. So start sending it out, start delivering it, etc. Where groceries are concerned, we have to do the demonstrations. Where Walmart and Amazon and all of them is concerned, we have to do the demonstration. We got to do them. So when Moors call and they ask, can I do this? Can I do that? I don't know. Can you do it? Can you do it? Can you? Can you put it in an envelope? Can you type up an affidavit? Can you do that? Okay, then you can do it. We have to do that. So, and then come back and let everyone know how your demonstration went, what happened. And that's going to be the fun part, is what happened and what can we do to get that process from you. How do we get that process from you? And they say, oh, just send me 100 more sovereign dollarium and I'll send you the process. Or they can do like I would do and post the process and say donations in more sovereign dollarium are welcome. No, I don't have, I'm not going to, I'm not going to put her information out there. Because if and when whoever it is, whenever I talk about Moors on the call, if I don't give their appellation, it's because it's their story to tell. So I'm not going to, I don't normally breach that unless I ask them. Can I talk about this on the call? Okay. And then when they get done with the demonstration, they will talk about what happened. Let me unlock the conference for just a moment here. Okay, so we have done a lot in terms of piercing the corporate veil, etc., with our liens and all. And now we have the more sovereign dollarium in our possession in order to do the demonstrations. We were supposed to do this anyway. Okay, we have seen in the records. I saw one of the empresses sent some information from a book that was written about what happened in the past when we got to this point previously, because this is not the first time in history that we've been at this point right here that we're at, where it's time for the systems to change, okay? And when we got to this point, at one point in the 1800s, about in the 1830s, 40s, 50s, 60s, etc., around there, around the time of Abraham Lincoln, he printed up his own greenbacks, quote unquote, and was going to support the government with the greenbacks and have the people's involvement with that, because you can't just print it up. The people actually have to use it in order for it to be accepted.
Just keep repeating the same crap, Pauline. Doesn't mean it's going to happen.
The thing about
it's not going to happen. Just keep repeating.
The thing about Moorishe Sovereign is that it's valid because we say it is. We the people say it is. Okay? And when we say something is valid, this is our land. It's valid. Definitely. And the one thing we have not done up till now is everyone use the same money. That's what we needed to do. Everyone needed to use the same money.
Not going to happen if you keep repeating.
And the same letterhead, etc. We had to. Okay. So now that we have done that, all we have to do is keep doing what we've been doing. Okay. Here. Let me get back to my document. So when we're talking about piercing the corporate veil, once again, that is how I wanted to show how the liens have been so effective. We want to keep leaning, we want to keep doing court actions, and we want to keep using delarium, because when you put those three together with our nationality as well, it is a very powerful formula, okay? Liens, court actions, and our own money. Those three things right there, you cannot get past them. They can't get past them. We're here now. We can even see them on the other side, you know, the subject starting to wake up and actually acknowledge like they should. But it's because we're doing what we should do. Okay? They are acknowledging our sovereign status. And here's the thing. We didn't have to compromise in order for them to say what they're saying and do what they're doing in terms of honoring our sovereign status. Justice J, I see what you're saying there. I thought the Moorishe Sovereign Delarium, this is what he's saying in the chat. I thought the Moorishe Sovereign Delarium was to only be initially tributed amongst the heirs. We've done that. And we continue to do that. That's an ongoing process. Okay? It's an ongoing process where we're still getting Moorishe Sovereign Delarium out, but we wanted to tribute it to the heirs first. And remember now, heirs, no matter how much Delarium you give the subjects to do their, you know, custodial duties, etc., you can always print more and sign it. So you'll always have more to give. And give, and give, and give, and give. So there's no one who's going to have more than you ever. And you will have more to give. And that's really the point of this, is for us to give of the vast estate. We do have to start producing. Okay, and that is ongoing as well. Let's be patient and keep demonstrating. We're here now. where we need to be. So those who have not received Dollarium, please send an email to thegovernment@gmail.com so that you can receive your Moorishe Sovereign Dollarium. We need to get that out to everyone. We appreciate those who are already using them. We get lots of questions and lots of comments about it. We are waiting for the results of demonstrations where the Moorishe Sovereign Dollarium is concerned. Again, if you have not received your Moorishe Sovereign Dollarium yet, I'll put it on the screen. Oops. Please email thegovernment@gmail.com so that you can get your Moorishe Sovereign Dollarium. Okay. Now, over time, Moors, there's going to be some changes made to everything that we're doing. We're going to continue to improve. Okay. We're going to continue to improve. Let's see. But we have to get rid of that, the fiat system. We cannot keep using it. And we see Moors gearing up to get their businesses started. And whenever we see them gearing up to accept fiat, we try to respectfully suggest that, you know, that they prepare for other, you know, something other than fiat to come. Because we already know that if places like, quote unquote, Walmart and other places are getting rid of fiat, how much more the Moors? Okay. The grocery stores are soon they're doing the same thing, getting rid of it. We do see that the banks are even getting rid of it. And that's another reason why they are shutting down, quote unquote, personal lines of credit, because it was never credit in the first place. It was debt. And it was fiat driven. So fiat driven activity on our land is a wrap. It's done. It's over. It's finished. And we're being given this opportunity now to go ahead and put everything in our favor with the Moorishe Sovereign Dollarium. Remember, our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, and great-grandchildren will thank us for putting the Moorishe Sovereign Dollarium and all gold-backed currency in place so that they can produce it as much as they need in order to get what is rightfully theirs. We're thinking 7 generations down minimum. We're thinking that far ahead right now. When we implement the things that we implement, we're thinking 7 generations ahead minimum, and at least the next 1,000 years, which is more than 7 generations. But 50 years from now, our heirs cannot be stuck in a fiat system. Think about that, Moors. Think about everyone that you love that's under the age of 5 years old. Do you want them stuck in the same fiat system that you've been stuck in? Or, well, not stuck in, but that we were exposed to? Do we want our heirs and their heirs to have to work 30 jobs to pay 1 month's quote-unquote rent? No, that can't go on any longer, period. So we must use Dollarium. And here's the thing, there are so many Moors who don't have the fiat that we got to use Dollarium. We have to. You know, some Moors sometimes have the mindset that they can use fiat until they don't have it anymore. But in reality, we need to be changing even those who have the fiat still trickling in, because it's trickling in. It's not coming in like a flood for nobody. It's trickling in. Those who have it trickling in, you need to be getting ready to move away from it. Set everything up so you can move away from it. Okay? Get everything set up so you can move away from fiat. And then start using more sovereign dollarium when you go. Use it by mail first if you have to do it that way. Use it by mail. And then make sure you send a copy of the Constitution for the United States, because the Constitution for the United States is what validates for them our use of more sovereign dollarium. The Constitution says gold and silver coin in tender of payment of debts. Now, we don't have debt, so we're using something that is tender and it's gold back because we say it is. And then the Moors who have the fiat trickling in, you actually have to think about the Moors who don't have it coming in. And if you're not going to use dollarium for yourself, use it because the Moors that don't have it coming in need help too. We got to look out for each other too. You know, there are some Moors who have fiat trickling in, and it will take care of them for what they need right now for a moment. But even those Moors have to say, let me prepare for when that won't do. For when it doesn't come in anymore, or for when people aren't accepting it anymore. Because in some places, because I had a Moor call me in the last few days, and this Moor said that they were trying to get a prescription because they had been taking prescriptions for some a serious issue that they were having, and that the people stopped accepting quote unquote checks. You know how they used to just write a check for their prescription and then they said, we're not taking that anymore. So if we're not going to do it for ourselves, we got to do it for others. We have to do it for others. Do the dollarium demonstrations. Justice Yezreel, thank you for that. He said in the chat, the time to build it is before they come. Yes, and the bibliotext and the ancient records also say, if you can't hang with the footmen, what are you going to do when the horsemen come? Because they are coming for fiat. They're coming to collect all fiat and all debtors. They're coming. We have to be already. Now, if it's one thing we can do is look at the hybrids and take a little hint from the quote unquote preppers. They prepared ahead of time. Okay, well, okay, we're proactive. We're doing more sovereign dollarium demonstrations ahead of time because that is what we will be using. We're not going to turn everything over to some digital, quote-unquote, system. We're going to be in complete control because we are already. And it's because we're doing it now that it won't be an issue later. You know, in colonialism, some of the programming had us waiting until the horsemen show up before we decide to take action. There it is in the chat. Think about the story in the bibliotext of Noah. Noah was building an ark and people were laughing at them until it started raining. We don't care about people talking and we don't care about any of that because we see what's happening. And they see what's happening too. They can feel it. You know what? Empress Portia, she put in the chat, some are laughing at us. Listen, we send our blessing and our positive energy. We love them. But at the beginning and end of the day, we know that the stuff that's been going on out there ain't going to be going on out there no more. It's not. We might as well get our houses in order. The whole premise of the biblioteletech is, Justice Yezerel, yes, it's already raining. It's already raining. Listen, don't let them tell you that, because see, I watch sometimes on social media where the hybrids are saying things like, yeah, when the system crashes and when the stock, all that stuff is already crashed, okay? They wouldn't be talking about it if it hadn't already happened. It's already crashed. Just as unique. Put in the chat, if you have run with the footmen and they have worried you, then how can you contend with the horses? There it is. But fortunately, we don't have to worry about that. That's why our calls get interrupted sometimes like they do. Because they already know. This is where the preparation is happening at. This is where it's happening. And other places too. Now this is not the only moorishe call that things are happening at. Things are happening at other moorishe calls too. So we don't want to take anything away from anyone else, but we got to get ready. And the thing is, we're already ready. People can talk about that moorishe sovereign delarium all day long, but when they look at the Constitution, it's going to be there. All laws made by the state to the contrary of the Constitution and its treaties is notwithstanding. Period. And when was the last time anybody showed you any other lawful money that was made by the Moors and used by so many Moors? And did not, and let me put this in there, and did not include fiat. You don't have to pay fiat for moorishe sovereign delarium. You just print it. That way, the corruption is not there. That's the point of all of this. That's the point of all of this. Empress Portia, yes, nobody else is talking about gold back anything. And if they are talking about anything gold back, they're charging fiat to get the information. Really? Or if they're talking about gold back money, they need to be on the public record giving it out to everybody so that they can get beyond the fiat piece. We have to. It's a wrap. It is a wrap. But again, and I could pull up some more laws and things about what we're talking about. Pull up your Constitution first. Pull that up first. Yes. Yes, in the chat. They're still asking for fiat and talking bad about other Moors and their nation. See, when the foreigners start talking crazy on calls and stuff like that, we can easily get rid of that because they still using fiat. And that's unconstitutional. So they can't speak. That's a shutdown on that because they're outside their jurisdiction. So we don't have to listen to anything they say until they get in subject status. But as for Moors, all gold-backed currency, coinage, and all of that, it does not need to involve fiat. Okay, it does not need to involve fiat. We don't need to involve fiat in what we're doing. We can use sovereign credits for everything that we get by terminating corporate contracts on bank accounts, terminate the corporate contracts on the bank account, and then use the bank account as you would, except you don't get cash back because they're not giving you real cash. And that's another demonstration that we're going to do sometime soon Tell them if I want cash back, I'm gonna have to. I guess I'm gonna have to give you the cash in order to give it back to me, because what you giving ain't cash.
Islam.
Let me make sure. Islam, Empress.
The question I have is, if you have like retirement income coming in, do you send them a notice ahead of time that you will be sending them the money or the gold to send you back to replace your fiat, sending them the gold to replace your fiat with?
So here's my suggestion on that, Empress. The answer is yes, it's just a matter of when. See, where retirement is concerned, at some point, they might say that there's no more retirement money, or fiat, rather. There's no more retirement fiat, so we're having to cut the retirement off. Well, in that case, I would go ahead and send them. I would lien, and they need to be liened anyway, which they kind of already are, but it does need to be done. A lien and a court action on them. And then send them the fiat and tell them this is what you will pay with. And then issue the sovereign credit based off of this that I've given you.
Okay.
Okay. So if they haven't said anything about cutting it off or garnishing it or taxing it or anything like that, then I would hold off on that demonstration until they do, but I would go ahead and lien them and do a court action on them already, because they need to be put in the right status. They need to be put in subject status. And that goes for the VA and everybody else. You know, we all, a lot of us get VA because we served in the quote-unquote military, not knowing then that we were the heirs. Well, the VA needs to be liened by all Moors who were veterans. The VA needs to be liened. That corporate black VA needs to be liened, and they need to be put in blue in subject status. Okay? And whoever it is that's doing business is secretary of the VA. The reason he's a secretary is because he's supposed to be doing secretarial work. Don't let them fool you into changing that definition into something else. He's a secretary. That's why the prophet said you're going to need 16 secretaries. That's one of them. In blue, not in black. A glorified assistant, yes, in the chat. A glorified assistant. And that's the one that you send the delirium to, and you tell them, this is what issue sovereign credits based on this right here. Issue sovereign credits based on that.
Okay.
A lien and a court action and some sovereign credit based on the delirium that you send them.
Is there just one more question? Is there some type of template out there to help us in turning our bank accounts into sovereign resources?
Yes, the lien template, the court action template, and then an affidavit of command. Okay, and actually the termination of corporate contracts, a lien and a court action will do it.
Okay, but
the termination of corporate contract.
Does that tell them though does that show me how to handle my personal account with them? Or I have to
You
make
can
my
tell
own?
them that, Empress. You can tell them that, yes. Do an affidavit of your own, and you tell them how to handle it, and send them the delirium to do it.
Okay.
Yes. Those are demonstrations that we all have to do. We all got to do them. Yes, and it can be, and you can call it, if you want to spell ecclesiastical a different way, because I see in the chat someone said ecclesiastical account. You can spell it a different way, however you want to do it. But the fiat has to stop flying around because it's not valid. You want to talk about monopoly money? Fiat is monopoly money. Yes, it is. It's monopoly money. It's fake, fraudulent. So we have to, yes, literally, it is. Yes, Justice. It is spelling. So every time you pass that stuff around, you're putting a spell on you and whoever using it. We have to not do that. We have to not do that. Okay? We have to not do that and not spell ourselves into a hole of some kind. You know, and it's not really a hole, but we have to stop doing that. We have to stop casting spells on ourselves. Because in reality, no spell is even valid unless we cast it. We're living proof of that. Their spells have never been valid from the very beginning. Okay? Let's see. I want to make sure I get to the questions in the chat. Yes, it is spelling. So, and here's the thing, our autograph is what they were wanting in the first place, okay? Our autograph is all they were using, is in a black autograph with some capital letters in it. That was their sandwiches. I will say this too, there is, and let's just talk about them and about us and where all of this came from and where it's going. There were created layers of the dimensions, okay? Whenever we created heaven and earth, there was a hypothecation of that from the corpses. They created a dead world. And the minute that we decided that we were going to descend into the dead world and be Hiram Abiff, or pretend to be covered by a corpse covering a shell corporation, then that is where all of the spelling went bad for us in ways that we did not want. So we had to come out of that. We've come out of it now. We have to stay out of it, and not only stay out of it, but execute and implement as well. Both implement and execute spells where moorishe sovereign delarium is concerned. Okay? Empress Portia, you said something about them, you know, there are some who are laughing at us. Listen, have they come up with any other form of payment instead of fiat? Have they come up with any form of exchange other than fiat? Because, see, it's all funny until the bill collector comes. No, they have not. And they can giggle and laugh until them fake policy enforcers come and say they owe 5,000 bond, quote unquote, and all of that. Then it's not a joke anymore. Now with bonds and things like that, we don't sign them, we don't deal with them. No, we're not doing that. Our court is going to have things that need to be done, but they have to be done in delarium and nothing, no, and gold and delarium, and other national gold-backed national currencies if there be any others. But we have not had a national currency In over 100 years, we've not had a national currency that was our own until now. I mean, think about it, Morris. All of the tribes. Okay, there's somebody coming up on the sound meter. I'm gonna have to mute. Go ahead, Nobility, if you were gonna say something though. It's on. Think about it, though, Morris. All of the tribes.
Islam.
Go ahead, Nobility.
Yeah, I was thinking today about what you were saying about the tone of the speaker. And it kept coming to me to look up a tone, A-tone, A-T-O-N-E. And so I looked at that. You know, a tone it literally means at one. If you take it apart, it spells at one. It's harmony. And you know what? It came to me that this is atonement. What we're doing. It's atonement. But I just wanted to put that out there. I was thinking about that because I had been thinking about that for several days, and usually when I think about something like that, it's the ancestors trying to get me to take a closer look at something. And I went ahead and I did that. I looked up the etymology of a tone and atonement, and a tone is literally at one, and it means harmony, to bring into harmony with. And that's what we're engaged with here.
Yes. We are engaged in at one-ment. That means your mind is at one. Atonement. That's how it is spelled. Atonement.
Islam?
There it is. Wow. Yeah, Islam, Nobility.
This is Justice Malika Kilbay. I had a question regarding some of us don't, like I don't personally have a bank account actively established. And for those people like myself, what would you recommend as far as establishing a new account, or do we do that through our land bank? How do we go about doing that? That's the first part of my question. The second part of my question is, okay. There's some of us with other types of world currencies, and I just wonder, can we use our own bank to exchange those as well? Or how do we go about doing it? How should we look into, or what do you suggest?
You know what? I would say, and we've been thinking about that. I think we should talk about that as one tonight. Let's talk about that because those are great questions.
Yes, sir.
Let me say this about the starting of the bank account. I don't know what you've been doing as far as, you know, trade and exchange and commerce up to now. I would do this is the demonstration that I would do if I were you. I would, and this is something we're doing as well. Lien the banks, do a court action on them, notify them, and then go on to their website, the bank website, whatever bank it is. Go on to their website and pull off one of their applications where where they say how to start a bank account or whatever. Pull off one of those applications, and we already know we don't fill out their stuff. Look at the application and then create an affidavit for sovereign banking or sovereign resource account. And do the affidavit and then give them a delarium deposit of however much you want them to deposit into the account. And tell them to put it in moorishe sovereign delarium or gold-backed sovereign credit. Okay?
Okay.
That is how I would do that demonstration, and I'm going to do that demonstration shortly myself. I have to. Why? Because I'm not going to contract with them with any corpses again. I'm not going to do that. Now, even with that, even if they deposit it, you still have to have a way of getting to it, don't you? So
yeah.
The way that I would do it is, and this is something that we're planning on rolling out over time, okay? Any vendors or anyone doing merchant duties and responsibilities on our land
Can't hear you.
I guess she's trapped.
Okay, so I did get kicked off. Of course, they were going to kick me off there. So here, with regard to the account, tell them what we're going to do and what we're going to be rolling out. Okay, is, can you all see me on the screen? Because I want to show you something, what we're going to be rolling out with regard to our bank account.
No, we can't see. No.
You can't? Okay. Let me just, let me see if I can get.
Keep drinking Pauline's cool.
Just a sec. Let me see if I can get on the screen because I want to show you. I wanted to show you this card. So over time, what we're going to do is be rolling out a card that goes with our sovereign nationality card in red and all lowercase letters. Is going to be a sovereign bank card, a sovereign gold-backed bank card. And the sovereign gold-backed bank card, and some more have seen this already, but let me see if I can get it on the screen. This gold-backed bank card has, and again, it's a card that any more you can print it up for yourself if you wanted to print it up for yourself. This card has my sovereign security number, not a social. It has a sovereign security number, and we all know the difference between the two. Okay. The sovereign security number, and it has 4 digits in addition to the sovereign security number. And those 4 digits are 0001. Okay, so it does not have any dashes in it at all. And it has my image on it. Let me see. Can you all see me on the screen now, maybe?
No.
No?
Yes.
Some can and some can't. Some can and some can't. For those who can see me on the screen, I'll hold the card up again so that you can see it. Just one second. This is the card. Okay, and as you can see, it has the stamp and seal of both the government and the consulate on it. It has my photo, and it has our flag, and it reads, Pauline Denise Ritchie, in capitis diminutio nolo in propria persona sua juris. It has, underneath that, it has Tier 1, TIER1, which means the top tier. And then underneath Tier 1, it has sovereign gold back, and then it has the issue date. Okay? Yes, I made this card. And then on the back of the card, it has a red stripe. It has a scanning thing that you can't scan yet because we need to make our own scanners. I would feel more comfortable with us making our own scanners. But this is going to be the card that we use for banking, okay? Unless and until those out there doing business as banks, if they get in alignment, and that's why I say, you know, we're doing all of these things that we're doing so that we know that we can do it ourselves. Yes, the systems on our land are ours, and we are going to use them, but not everybody is in the same place where the demonstrations are concerned. So for me, that's why I'm doing these things that I'm doing, because I want to be sure that when I do start using the system that we have out there, that system does exactly what it's supposed to. It honors our sovereign status. It refers to us properly as who we really are, and that it does what we tell it to do, and that we're in complete control of it. Okay? So this, again, that's why I say this is not an overnight process, but it's moving pretty quickly. It is moving pretty quickly. In the interim, we had to get past policy enforcers, state courts, et cetera, et cetera. And then we could start thinking about the wealth of the estate, okay? Because what good is the wealth if a policy enforcer walks up to you and can take it from you? What good is it? Or scare you out of it? You know, and we're getting there. We're getting there. You know, that's a part of the grand rising. So this card is one of the things that we're looking at implementing down the road here as soon as we can, because we have our own banking system set up. But we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't want to reinvent the wheel because we know everything on this land belongs to us anyway. Okay? So, but we want to make sure that we stay outside of the capitalist system and outside of contracting with capitalists, and ensure that those that we speak to and give commands to know that they're in subject status and not anything other than that. And that is where, you know, some Moors are going ahead and doing things, and, you know, we honor all demonstrations, and we love it. Moors should be going out demonstrating. They should. We all should. Me in particular, and you know, we are taking our demonstrations slowly in terms of going back to use those systems, because we want to be sure that there's no misunderstanding by the subjects that they are subjects and not corpses. We want to be sure of that. Okay? And so that's why we're taking it a day at a time with regard to that. In the interim, we're not sitting around doing nothing. We're going ahead and implementing our own systems and everything while we can here. And when I say while we can, because after a while, we won't have to do some of the things we're doing. And studying and all of that, yes. We want to make sure that that the systems that are out there, that if they should fail completely, that we have our own already in place. Because, see, the corporate system is already finished. We know that. It's done. It's a wrap. Some may not see
illegal
that,
action.
Okay. You don't have to.
You're taking other people with you. You're a criminal. You're going to go to jail. Don't take other people with you. Please.
Just a moment.
Listen, do you?
Wow, wow. This time they use the old lady voice to try and, don't take other people with you. I know, right. Boy, the emphasis in the chat are going right on in on that one. Since when did they care? Since when? Since when? The same ones. Yes, since when? The same ones were talking trash when they thought that the system had us. Same ones. Talking garbage. Yes, we want Moors to come with us to freedom and freedom from fiat. We want that. We do want that. That's for sure. That we want. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start winding things down here with regard to the corporation status and the shell corporations and the money system and all of that. All of that. Yes, Justice Yazarel using the birthright as white privilege. Oh, wow. See, they know that we're the real white people. Okay, they know that we're the real white people. So they're right now trying to turn that whole white and black thing around because they know they're the real black people. Those out there in those black statuses, using black letters and capital letters. They know they're the real black and we're the real white. So now everyone is, talking pretty bad about white this and white that, and, and all of a sudden everyone has all of this love and compassion for the black. Black Lives Matter, and all of that.
Don't you just love that Kool-Aid that Pauline makes? Yummy Kool-Aid that...
Black Lives Matter. That's what they say. So, there's a reason why. That didn't just, everybody didn't just all of a sudden fall in love with brown-skinned people. They didn't. That's not where that's coming from either. But we know that already. Why? Because they're still attempting to exert some jurisdiction over Moors who are not citizens. Moors who are not U.S. citizens. So it's not about, everyone's having this lovey change of heart. It's not that. It's that the real white people are standing. White is a status at law. Follow the benefits and follow the money. And again, there's no real money but gold-backed sovereign money. Produced and generated and originated.
Better get out there and start spending your dollarium.
So, with that being said, we did answer the question about how to start a bank account if you want to do it that way, a sovereign resource account. We answered that question. And then we also talked about the second question that you had, nobility. Did we answer your questions, Justice Malik? Or is there anything that we can expand on further? Just one moment. Hopefully he didn't get dropped from the call by this system here. I think he did. Okay. I wanted to also briefly, if you go to this website here, law.cornell.edu, and put in piercing the corporate veil, it will tell you here a little further down, to fulfill the strand component about the corporation. The corporation must be one of three things, and a strand is a test, a litmus test that they do in order to determine that it's a fraud. Okay, so in Texas, and we'll just do a little bit of case law here. In Texas, Enri J&S Aviation LLC 2007 is the leading case where corpses and corporations are and piercing the veil comes in at. The court found that the corporate veil could be pierced when any of the asserted veil piercing strands are met. Further, courts will pierce the corporate veil when the members intended to use the company to perpetuate an actual fraud, and the company did perpetuate an actual fraud primarily for the direct personal benefit of the considered defendant. You know what they're saying here? They're saying if you use corporate status to get a benefit that is not even, that's fraud. If we, the living, even use the corporate status at all in black ink, it's fraud because we're using it to get a benefit that's already ours. And it says here to fulfill the strand or litmus test component to see if it's fraud, the corporation must be one of three things: the alter ego of the parent corporation or its shareholders. It's a fake face, alter ego. Alter, when they talk about altars in the churches, and they talk about, and I'm talking about the 501c3 altars, it's just all they're talking about is changing or altering the status of the heirs. That's why churches were so important to the colonizers. They came here under a cross collateralization of the vast estate. That's what that is. That's the real cross. That's the non-anthropomorphic meaning of that, of why they came here. To cross-collateralize, and they built altars. Altars are nothing more than commercial venues and 501c3s. And then number two, the corporation is used to avoid legal limitations upon natural persons or corporations. And here's the thing, when they say natural persons, they're not talking about us because we're not persons, and we have no limitation. So let's put that on the record. There are no limitations where the Moors are concerned. And then number three, the corporation is a sham to perpetuate a fraud. Further, the court stated that the actual fraud occurs when all four of the following take place. A party conceals or fails to disclose a material fact within the knowledge of that party. In other words, are you the natural heir? Does everything already belong to you? Oh, okay. But you're still being a court for a benefit? No, that's fraud. And again, we get mad at the hybrids sometimes for some of the things they do. We got to stop being the fraud. Number two, the party knows that the other party is ignorant of the fact and does not have an equal opportunity to discover the truth. That is what we say about them, where they're saying that contracts have adhesive clauses in them, or that we're consenting when we're not consenting. Okay? Our intention is always to not consent, but we actually have to live that intention. Number three, the party intends the other party to take some action by concealing or failing to disclose the fact. And number four, the other party suffers injury as a result of acting without knowledge of the undisclosed fact. Now remember, look at what they're saying here. They're saying the court stated that actual fraud occurs when all four of the following take place. So yes, it's fraud. It's fraud on our part first. To even see, this is the thing, Melissa. We can't go to their fake court and say, well, if I don't go to their court, they're going to send policy enforcers to come and get me. We can't even go under those circumstances, and we can't tell Moors what to do. Study to do the demonstration before you do it, rebut everything they say, speak by affidavit, and stand on what you say before you do any demonstration. Okay? Yes, here is the link to where we are right now at what makes up the fraud. Let me put that in the chat here. There it is. Okay. And when we say chat, we're talking about the actual meeting. We're not talking about the YouTube chat. We have a chat in the actual meeting that we put things in. So for those that will be watching this on YouTube later, we try to put the links in underneath the video, but sometimes we don't make it because it's in the chat here at the meeting. So there's the link in the chat to what makes that corporation stuff a fraud. Okay. With that being said, are there any other wisdom or comments or anything with regard to the corporate status or any of the things we said about using the dollarium so that we remain outside of any corporate structures? And again, we're in transition, so the transitions will happen over time. You know, some are still using fiat. Don't feel bad about that, but we have to be moving in the direction of our freedom. We have to be moving in the direction of our freedom. Okay. So while it is day, do the work, because when night comes, no man can work. That's what that means. There is going to come a time where, you know, all of this preparation is going to pay off. And it's starting to do that now, but that time is fast approaching where, you know, things that need to be done, each one of us has to do them. What does that mean? In reality, it means that everyone who does the preparation now, who knows to do it, will be protected. And then those that wake up, they will be protected as they wake up. So we don't have to worry about our clans and our heirs and all of that who may not be awake right now. When it's time for them to wake up, they will wake up. And then the ark door will be open for them in their lives. But those who know and don't do it, if we're still pushing fiat and we know that that's not the way it's supposed to be, and we're not even working in the direction of not pushing fiat, then that's not hurting anyone but us, because then it's going to be more contracts. So with that being said, I believe that's all we have today. If there's anything that we can assist anyone with, please let us know. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign original indigenous. Yes, Islam Empress, go ahead.
Islam, before we get off, you know I had to say at least something, going pretty much to reiterate that everything that Light has been saying all the way up to this point. And I was in one of the grocery stores, I'm sorry, this is Empress Sade. I was in one of the grocery stores today, and as I was checking out one of the hybrids, it was an older lady, I don't know, maybe in her 70s or so, I don't know, 60s, 70s. However, the shirt that I had on, the T-shirt, had Negroes scratched out. It had color scratched out. It had black scratched out. And it had African-American scratched out. And then at the bottom it said more. And she said, she made sure to try to get my attention and say, I like your shirt. And, you know, I didn't know she was even talking to me. She was like, excuse me. And then I looked up, I'm like, okay, huh? And then she was like, I like your shirt. And ultimately, I'm like, okay, at this point, she's already letting us know. Number one, she's in subject status, so she already knows what's going down. Number two, she knows that the Moors are awake and demonstrating and, you know, pretty much doing what we need to do on the land at this present time. She's aware of it, and she's happy about it because she had a smile the whole time. So, you know, they're putting themselves, that's the first time I've ever had that happen. I generally get stares like that if I wear any moorishe T-shirts. However, they don't say anything. Some people may look and they may do a little smile, or they may do a double take and look, however, and that would be it. No, this is the first time that someone actually tried to get my attention just to let me know that she knows what's going on and she's happy that it's happening and that we're demonstrating on this land. So I just want to reiterate that, yes, everything that we're doing, we need to continue to keep doing and demonstrating. They definitely know, and that was her way of putting herself in subject status right in front of my face. I yield.
Yes. Islam. Yes, Islam. Islam. There it is. And that's going to be happening more often, where they, you know, acknowledging our sovereign status. That's a thing. That's the real right there. And when our sovereign status is acknowledged, it's always acknowledged by living subjects. Islam. With that being said, peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heir, Islam.
Peace and grand rising. Grand rising. Peace and love.
Grand rising. Awesome information. Thank you.
Yes, Islam. Islam, Empress. Peace and love.
Much love, much love.
Islam.
Right, Adam.
Islam.
Islam.
Hey, Frank, what's up, Frank? Hey, how you doing, Orlando? I'm good, man. Oh, that's good. How's the weather doing in Trinidad? The weather, have you ever heard of rain, man? Wow, okay, we get it tomorrow here. All right. Peace and love.
Peace and love, Eric.
All right.
Rising.
Peace and love.
Islam. We're going to go ahead and disconnect the call in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good Lord.